I have always been a fan of Pokemon games. I grew up playing them. I love catching, evolving, and battling Pokemon. But like many other fans, I've been disappointed with the last few Pokemon titles. So I told myself, why don't you make a Pokemon game? Maybe changing everything that the last Pokemon games do wrong? I studied a video game development degree in university, but I ended up working as a software engineer, basically a programmer. And I'm happy with my job, but I still miss developing video games. So I thought I'd give it a chance. My plan is to develop a small demo and launch it so people can play it and give me their feedback. Side note, I wasn't planning to record this. What you're about to see is what I made in about 3 weeks of working in my spare time. I'll do my best to show the entire process. The first thing I did was creating a Trello board in order to have control over my progress. Since Unity is the engine that I know best, I will use it for this project. I knew that my game had to be open world, so I decided to use Unity's terrain system. I first added some terrain and started modeling it. Then I added some basic textures which I plan to change in the future, but for now they are okay. I know that I want the first town to be surrounded by an autumn forest, so I created 2 types of trees in Blender and then used a 2 cool vegetation spawner to populate my forest. And the results are pretty decent. After that, I started to think about the player. First of all, I needed to move around the world. I decided to use Unity's nav mesh. I know what you're thinking, this is not optimal for this type of game, and you're right. But here's the thing. I will need some kind of artificial intelligence for the NPCs to move around the world, and Unity's nav mesh is perfect for that. So I thought that if I had to use it anyways, I'd make my life easier if I just do the player movement using the nav mesh. The script for the movement basically checks if the player can move. This is a bool I use to stop the player from moving. And then if there's a vertical or horizontal input, the player will move taking into consideration the direction the camera is facing. Pretty straightforward. Now that the player is moving, we need to give him some pets. I made a script that holds the player's information. It only holds the team for now. This script uses a singleton pattern. If you don't know what a singleton is, it is a way to make a script unique and persistent through scenes, which is just what I needed for the player data. Let's fill up the team, I thought. And what is the first Pokemon you received in your adventures? The starter, of course. So I made a simple scene called Laboratory, because that is typically the place where you receive the starter. But don't worry, this will change later. Then I made the professor. I needed some way of interacting with him, so I made a dialogue system. I made it following Bracky's tutorial, so props to him. I will include a link to the tutorial in the description. Anyways, then I made the 3 starters and gave them a pet script. This script is what makes an object become a pet. Alright, next thing I implemented was the battle system, which is the most important thing in the game. The battles against wild monsters will be single, but all trainer battles will be doubles. Let's start with the wild monster battles. In order to battle, pets must have stats, moves, and some way of attacking. So I added that to the pet script. The way that stats work in Pokemon is, Pokemon have base stats, which are the raw stats at level 50 with no modifiers. But in the real world, there are almost never going to be those, because Pokemon have IVs and EVs. Every stat has a random number between 0 and 31 that represents the IVs, individual values. If a Pokemon has 31 IVs in a stat, It means that when it reaches level 100, it will have 31 extra points in that stat. Stats also have EVs, or effort values. These values increase every time you battle. You can have 252 EVs per stat and 510 EVs total. If a Pokemon has 252 EVs in one stat, it will have 63 extra points at level 100. That is because for every 4 EVs you get 1 extra stat point. Long story short, I implemented this in my game. After having all this, I made a pet library script. This is where I'm going to store the data for all pets in the game. For now, I indicate the name, base stats, level and move pool. Everything else is generated automatically. And for the moves, I made another library following the same concept. Then I made the battle manager script. The battle has several states. Start, move selection, moves execution, you get the idea. This is the state flow diagram for single battles. Easy, right? I coded every stage and set it up a very basic UI for the player to interact with the game. For now, you can't catch monsters, use items, switch or run. But I've had enough of the battle system, so I'll work on that later. Here's how the battle looks now. The last thing I want to showcase in this devlog is the spawn system I made. It is a simple script that has a list of pets to spawn and a number to indicate the maximum pets. I made a bird, which is called Smeagol for small eagle, and put it in there. And voila! We have monsters spawning randomly in the forest. So what do you think? Do you like the game? How would you make a Pokemon-like game? Please leave your ideas in the comments section below. Also, if you have any idea for a name, I'd love to read it. I'm struggling to find a proper name for the game. I'll be posting a video soon in which I talk about the design of the game, so that you guys can have a better understanding of it. Other than that, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.